Please rise in body or spirit, as we sing our opening song, which is hymn number 1008 in the Teal hymnal. When your heart is in the holy place.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. I'm so glad you decided to join us this morning on this beautiful autumn day. And to our online viewers, welcome wherever and whenever you decide to let us come through your screen. And as a matter of fact, for those that are there, why don't we turn to that camera over there and say howdy. Hi, thank you for coming. I want to welcome our homilist, storyteller, Nadene LeCheminant, who will be sharing her story with you today. I'm Barbara, your celebrant. My husband and I recently returned from 2.5 months in Haarlem, the Netherlands. So we haven't been here. You might have noticed or you might not have noticed. We were with family, including grandchildren, and they intend to stay there for the long run. We had a lovely time and would enjoy sharing those stories with you and hearing your stories in fellowship time after the service over coffee and treats. So please do join us for that. We, my husband and I, are also so grateful to be back in this vibrant and welcoming congregation. If you are a first-time visitor, please be prepared to be welcomed. And if you are a long-time member or sort of half-time member, extend your warm greetings to faces that perhaps you don't know, okay? And let's begin that by simply turning to your neighbor and taking a minute to greet them.
So it's a gift to be invited into new communities and experience cultures different from our own. We learn to listen, to see, to feel differences until they become part of our grain. It's also a gift to let our roots grow deep within the soil upon which we stand, to provide stability, fruitfulness, strength, and shelter to ourselves and others. Please join me in saying the words of our affirmation. Love is our doctrine, compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope, it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace, it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life is bounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love, it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Some of us welcome the short, damp days of autumn, while others mourn the loss of the steady shine of summer. Regardless of the change in seasons, we always light our three chalices. The first is for our Unitarian Universalist congregation here in Salem. The second is for our partner church in Šimenfalva, Transylvania, Romania. The third is for our children and youth, the future, here and around the world. Let us sing the flame into life. Rise up, O flame, show to us today,
Good morning. Can everybody young or young at heart please join me up front? Right up here? Yeah, get up here. Come on up. Hi, guys. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Ooh, nice. You brought friends today. Excellent. Hi there. Welcome. Hi there. So, I have a little bit of a story for you. Has anyone ever wondered why we and every other UU church begins things by lighting a chalice? Anybody? Okay. Well, to answer that question, I want to share a story with you. And for this story, we must travel back in time, all the way to 1941 and World War II. During that war, a lot of people living in Eastern Europe, Unitarians, Jews, and others, were in danger of being put in prison or killed by Nazi soldiers. A group of Unitarians came together in Boston, Massachusetts, to form the Unitarian Service Committee, which you can see right up here on the next slide. Okay. Once the committee was formed, there it is. Once the committee was formed, they created a plan to help people in danger from the Nazis. A man by the name of Charles Joy, there he is, was the director of the service committee and also happened to be a Unitarian minister. Now, in those days during the war, danger was everywhere, and lots of people were running away from their own countries. In fact, Reverend Joy was in charge of a group of secret agents and messengers who worked to find safe routes in Eastern Europe for people to use as they tried to escape. But there was a problem. You see, oftentimes the people who were escaping and people who wanted to help didn't speak the same language. And this made it very hard when they were trying to find each other. Without a way to know who was safe, the escape plans could have quickly fallen apart. But Reverend Joy had an idea. You see, disguises, secret symbols, and midnight runs across guarded borders were the means of freedom in those days. So Reverend Joy decided that the best way to help and to keep people safe was to create an official symbol or picture to help those who were escaping and members of the service committee identify each other. Reverend Joy found a very talented Dutch artist named Hans Deutsch. Right up here. There he is. Who had already escaped and asked for help. Reverend Joy asked Deutsch to create a symbol that the secret agents could add to the fake papers they were making. This way, the people who were escaping and members of the service committee identify each other. Reverend Joy told Hans to make the symbol look official, to give dignity and importance to them, and at the same time to symbolize the spirit of our work. When a document may keep a man out of jail, give him standing with governments and police. It is important that it look important. So Hans got to work creating a symbol that he thought would be impressive to the government and the police, and that would be easy and fast for the service committee to print onto their papers to make them look important. For his drawing, Hans borrowed an old symbol of strength and freedom from Czechoslovakia, a chalice with a flame. And just like that, the symbol of our flaming chalice was born. Many years later, the flaming chalice became the symbol of Unitarian Universalist groups all over the world. By the early 1970s, enough Unitarian Universalists had heard the story of the flaming chalice symbol that they had begun to light a flaming chalice as part of the worship service in their churches. Over the years, this practice has spread over most of the United States and Canada. Okay, and I have an announcement for you. We are having trunk or treat on October 26th. I will have a slide for you, but I sent out an email with a link to RSVP if you would like to reserve a parking spot. There's only so many in there, and we want to make sure we fill them up to give the community and our kids here a great time. So this is a really nice way of giving back to the kids of your congregation. So if you want to do that, you can come find me or text me, call me, or email me. Okay? And if everybody can stand up in the center and create the love arch, we'll be on our way. Thank you.
This is the time of compassion and gratitude. Compassion. Consider the hopes and worries of teachers and students and staff as another school year unfolds. Consider the loss of a loved one. Consider the uncertainty of a new relationship. Consider the tragedies inherent in armed conflicts, the chaos of natural disasters like sweet Hurricane Helene. Consider the anxieties of families struggling to pay bills, the condition of a homeless person. These situations affect us all. Some of them may be in our past, some may be in our present, and none of us know the future. Compassion helps us through them. Compassion for others and for yourself. Compassion is our way. Gratitude. And what about the joy of watching autumn paint the landscape with yellows, reds, and purples? The warmth of holding a furry friend. The satisfaction of sharing your garden's bounty with neighbors, or canning the deliciousness for the winter months. Sitting quietly at a river's edge, noticing the reflection of trees and clouds on the surface. Gratitude is our way. Take a moment and think of one small thing that makes you grateful.
Good morning. My name is Annie Jocelyn, and I'm honored to be one of your Lifeline lay ministers. We have 2 joys and 1 sorrow to share this morning. First, our joy from Dawn Beckman. Helen and I were married by Rick in the UUCS church on September 22nd, 2001. When we went out to dinner on Sunday to celebrate our 23rd anniversary, at one point I held her hands, looked into her eyes, and said, "Honey, if I had to do it all over again, I probably would." Helen is not speaking to me. Second, Ricky is here today for pet therapy. Our sorrow from Carol Doolittle. This candle is for my cousin Bruce, an adventurous man with a big voice and a warming hug. Sadly, he died a few days ago, but I can still hear his voice at the family Christmas caroling party, 5 golden rings. Finally, we light one more candle for any joy or sorrow felt in your hearts, but that remain unspoken. Lifeline lay ministers are fellow members of the congregation who extend ministry to members and friends of our church who are experiencing loss, illness, or any type of personal or family crisis. You can reach out to us by visiting the Lifelines table in Hanneman Hall each Sunday after service. We are identifiable by our stoles and our lavender badges that say Lifeline Lay Ministers. You can also contact us at the email address on the screen. You can post your joys and sorrows in the book in the foyer before church. Thank you to everyone who submitted a joy or sorrow today, and thank you to everyone here for keeping these people in your hearts.
Before I begin, let me help you. If you miss the third word in the first line of this poem, you will be forever lost. The word is S-O-U-L, soul. Something that both Mary Oliver and I wrestle with, and you might too. Her attempt to get at this vaporous concept is not to define it, but to ask questions about it. Is the soul solid, like iron? Or is it tender and breakable, like the wings of a moth in the beak of an owl? Who has it? And who doesn't? I keep looking around me. The face of the mouse is as sad as the face of Jesus. The swan opens her white wings slowly. In the fall, the black bear carries leaves into the darkness. One question leads to another. Does it have a shape, like an iceberg, like the eye of a hummingbird? Does it have one lung, like the snake and the scallop? Why should I have it and not the anteater, who loves her children? Why should I have it and not the camel? Come to think of it, what about the maple trees? What about the blue iris? What about all the little stones sitting alone in the moonlight? What about roses and lemons with their shining leaves? What about the grass?
feel like I have a halo. Wow. I was raised on God. When I was a child, I was taught that God lived on the planet Kolob, way up there, and that if I prayed, that God would speak to me, even though I was so small. And so I spent hours on my knees, sending prayers outwards, up to heaven and listening. One night, I almost heard him. It was July 20th, 1969. Does anyone know what happened that night? The moon, yeah. So I wasn't the only one looking towards the heavens. All across the world, people were clustered in front of these little black and white TV sets, looking up to watch the first human step out onto the moon. I was 13 years old, and I was not parked in front of the TV. Instead, I was out back climbing my grandma's biggest pine tree in order to see the moon better. And so I hoisted myself from one branch up to the next and got pine resin stuck all over in my braids. And at the very top, I found a perch. And I sat there, and the wind took me back and forth. And I watched the moon, and I tried to figure out which planet was Kolob, and I prayed. And then I listened, and I heard nothing. As I waited there in the top of that tree, I noticed the velvet spread of the stars, and I noticed this soft breeze on my cheek. And even though God never spoke to me that night, everything else did. I felt a whisper of a feeling I couldn't easily name. A few years went by, and I grew into an older teenager, and I took to frequenting the river bottoms near our house, where I would kneel under a big tree and send my prayers heavenward. I would ask, God, are you there? And some people pray and feel like they hear God, but I never did. All I heard was the birds and the murmur of the river. And then at some point, I began to realize that for me, God's silence didn't really matter. Speaking of listening, I began to listen with concentration to the currents of the river, and I began to feel that what really mattered was that I was kneeling on this tiny piece of this green earth, and that it was taking me in and nurturing me. That was the first step in my journey out of my childhood religion. Along the way, I abandoned the concepts of hell and I forgave myself for sins that aren't really sins, but simply part of being human. I felt like I was losing my moorings as I left my faith, because it had been my identity, my community, and my home. And my faith had defined how to think and act and live. And now all I had was questions. And I felt pretty isolated in my questioning. This was long before the internet and all those chat rooms. I had so many questions. My spiritual exploration took me through college philosophy classes, through studies of the major world religions, through writing poetry, and into circles of silent meditation. I tried on some beliefs, cast them off, and tried on others in search of a better fit. Through it all, for decades, I still had this yearning with no place to focus it. I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was I yearned for, but there was a hunger for meaning, for belonging, for intimacy with the ultimate. I suspect that many of you have felt that. We don't feel it when we're in the rush of life or when we're constantly in the company of others. And the distraction of the mundane can temporarily blind us to our deeper longings, especially when those longings are not well defined. But we might sense that yearning when we're alone, and when our thoughts settle a bit, and when we have time to really breathe. That's when we can enter into the deeper current. All the world religions speak of this desire for connection with the ultimate. Since our early ancestors first sat around campfires, we've been asking questions. We wanted to know why the stars moved across the sky and why the moon grew full and then thin. We wanted to connect with the spirits of the animals that we hunted, for we knew that the taking of life was a meaningful act. In all of this, nature was a living presence in our spiritual system. Centuries on, the varieties of spiritual experience have become incredibly diverse. Religion writer Jeff Selensky said, "Spiritual practice is universal. Humans around the world pray. Some kneel, some prostrate themselves, others bow or sit or stand, praying aloud or silently. We chant, we sit in meditation, we pursue sacred dance, we go to Mass, we fast, we tithe, we undergo initiations, we go on pilgrimage, we do yoga, we perform sacrifices, we perform acts of kindness." Humans have diverse spiritual rituals and diverse beliefs. As for Unitarian Universalists, our faith is unique in not prescribing what to believe or how to believe. Instead, ours is what we call a living faith. We think that people should be free to form beliefs based on their life experience, rather than what someone told them from the pulpit. This is what we mean when we say ours is a creedless religion. We accept that different people find different answers. It's okay if God is male or female or black or brown or speaks to us or doesn't. It's okay if we're theist or if we're atheist or if we really don't care. My truth is not your truth. Truth is found in many places. UUs understand that the spiritual search may be messy, and we learn to be comfortable with paradox. We may not have answers to all the questions, but we understand that the act of asking questions is also meaningful. In this exploration, we have an opportunity to open our hearts, but also to open our minds and to listen to our own inner wisdom. Our own wisdom can help us create a life shaped by purpose and passion. When we're on the spiritual path, we are coming home to ourselves. The poet Walt Whitman could have been speaking of UUs when he said, "Not I, nor anyone else can travel that road for you. You must travel it by yourself. It is not far. It is within reach. Perhaps you have been on it since you were born. Perhaps it is everywhere." I have a philosopher friend named Charlie Heinemann. He has a big, long beard, and he looks like a philosopher. Many years ago, he challenged his friends to write out their religion. As part of my spiritual search, I decided to take his advice and to try to capture in words my personal belief system. So I wrote about ethics and a code of behavior. I wrote about compassion and mindfulness as an anchor. I wrote about a belief in the everyday goodness of people and about how our goal as humans shouldn't be to dominate the earth, but to live in harmony with it. But I also reflected on that deeper current, that ineffable something that drives thoughts and actions, some kind of original instinct. The poet Anne Sexton advised us, put your ear down close to your soul and listen hard. Many people, including UUs, describe themselves as spiritual but not religious. Perhaps many of us are taking the poet's advice and putting our ear down close to our soul and listening. Our faith serves up some irony. We're invited to draw faith from world religions, but also to seek a type of spirituality not found within the framework of organized religion. In other words, our faith invites us to go beyond organized religion. We are invited to rely in part on our, quote, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit. What does that transcending experience look like? I think it can take as many forms as there are people. For me, this is where the journey begins and what it asks of me. Following a spiritual path requires me to go deeper into my own life, to peel back the layers of busyness, to lay down the cell phone and the incessant scrolling and the rushing, and instead to open up all of my senses, touching, listening, tasting, smelling, feeling everything around me on this miracle of a planet. Following a spiritual path sometimes means saying no so that I can say yes to my own inner calling. It means trying to figure out how to nurture the sacred within in a culture that doesn't always value the sacred. Back when I received Charlie's invitation, I attempted to write out my religion, but like the Tao, which cannot be named, I found it difficult to capture my religion on a piece of paper. I think this is an exercise you should all try. It's kind of interesting and fun. I also found that my religion keeps evolving. It's not an arrival, but a journey. But I want to share my answer. After a lifetime of reflecting, this is what my religion comes down to. This. Just this. Everything. Like the sun coming through the window and being in fellowship with you, trying to create meaning. It means being in fellowship with the trees in my backyard and with the squirrel. In my made-up religion, everything has holiness. People are holy. Those who act with ugliness or violence have not discovered their holiness yet. The earth, with her blue veins of her rivers and the rise of her mountains and this great planetary breathing in and out of her ocean, the earth is holy. Morning is holy when the birds wake up and the teapot whistles and the cat wants his first cuddle. Lilacs in the spring are holy, and so is a novel you can't put down, and so is kissing, and so is holding a baby. My sacred rituals consist of wandering in old-growth forests and listening to choral music and sharing deeply with friends. Some people talk about the great aha moment when one achieves enlightenment. For me, enlightenment is simply knowing how to drink a cup of tea and savoring the fragrance of jasmine blossoms in your throat. I can find enlightenment when I sanctify the mundane and the ordinary, when I look for God in the face of the grocery store cashier, when I experience the humble mystery of bumblebees asleep in flowers. Life's ordinary moments are sanctified by my attention and by my gratitude. For me, enlightenment comes from creating space for reverence and being awake to every moment. Awake to the wonder, but also awake to the sorrow. For suffering too is part of that transcending experience. When our hearts break open, we come to a deeper connection with life as it really is, with decay and loss and death. When our hearts break open, we learn about compassion. After writing pages about my beliefs and how I define spirituality, I put the treatise away. I only wanted the essence, and in the end I did. I was able to sum up my religion with a single sentence. It's not a belief, but it's an aspiration. I will practice reverence for the earth and all beings. I will practice reverence for the earth and all beings. It's a pretty simple aspiration, and yet often it's just out of reach. For the act of reverence requires being truly present. That's challenging in our over-caffeinated, overly stimulated, multitasking society. But I believe that's where happiness lies. I believe that happiness lies in simply learning how to be present. And that is how I aspire to nurture the sacred. My spiritual path is not necessarily your spiritual path. Your spiritual calling may be found in helping people who live on the streets. Your path may lead you to meditation or yoga or full moon rituals or simply bird watching in your backyard. You may find comfort and resilience in a relationship with the divine. Or your sacrament may be music or poetry, and the words of philosophers may be your scriptures. But this I know, in all of these activities, there is a deeper undercurrent that there is there for us to find, an undercurrent that connects all of us and connects us with the earth and connects us with each other. When I was a girl, I climbed a tall tree and I perched in the top branches and searched the sky for Kolob, where God lives. But for me now, God isn't found on the planet Kolob way out there. Divinity is found in the tree I climbed, in the moon, in the starry sky. It's found in the faces of my family gathered around the TV set, watching the first human step out with wonder into uncharted territory. I found my own uncharted landscape, and then slowly, one by one, I found the landmarks that serve as guides: beauty, compassion, nature, friendship, interconnections with all things. There is a hearth fire within each of us. If we don't tend it, the flames will go out. Whatever your fire looks like, tend it and nurture it with care. Whatever your chosen path, may you walk with reverence. The 13th century Persian poet Rumi left us with these words: out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door's round and open. Don't go back to sleep.
We create a vibrant UUCS community through worship, pledges, individual and group projects, and connections with one another. Now is the time for Sunday donations. You may put your donation in the basket as it comes to you. We also collect non-perishable food items for Marion Polk Food Share, and they can be placed in the little red wagon. You'll note that I think there's some suggestions on what you can put in it. So if you forgot to bring anything today, which I did, bring them next week. The fifth Sunday of every month, and this is the fifth Sunday, we share the donation with Lifespan Religious Education here at UUCS. There are several ways to make donations: cash, a check made out to UUCS, or scan the QR code at the bottom of your order of service. Alternately, you may go to our website and click on Donate. Whatever the size, every gift is needed and very much appreciated. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright, blessed day, the dark, sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you, Barbara. I love that song. Next Sunday is the blessing of the animals among us, and our friend Barbara will be leading. Let us bless the love and connection we feel between ourselves and those we call our furry family members.
I love those furry critters. Or they don't have to have fur. If you have a lizard or turtle or some such, or perhaps a beetle. Yes, the animal blessing, bring your low-stress pet, because I do not want to be bitten or scratched. And if you have to give it a little calming something or other, do that too. And if you can't bring your pet, but you really want to be blessed, please send a photograph to the production team, as it says up there, and with, if you'd like, a one-sentence comment. That's optional, but include your name and your pet's name, and it will be blessed. This is really important. We have starting point sessions which give us the roots of Unitarian Universalism, and this 4-week experiential group will start in October. There are 4 of them, October 20th, 27th, November 3rd, 10th, and they're from right at noon after the service till 2 o'clock, and lunch will be provided. If nothing else, that is a good incentive. So please join us for that. And that is for both visitors, and if you've been a member and like to connect and refresh your roots, please come. News of the community. If you would like to receive all the news of the community, please, you should be getting the Friday email, which gives you weekly announcements, and the monthly newsletter will allow you to plan ahead. If you don't currently get it, sign the visitor book in the foyer and on the welcome table. Call that phone number or email the office, and you can be put on the connection list. Okay? Thank you. I think that's it. And now it is time to light the social justice lantern, which Nadene will do, as a symbol of how we choose to be in this world with others. And we do extinguish our chalices. Know that your special internal energy is not so easily put out. And this week, take your energy and give someone, maybe a stranger, a helping hand. And we'll have the closing hymn.
Closing hymn will be hymn number 148 in the gray hymnal. Let freedom span both east and west.
If you are comfortable and able, remain standing and hold your neighbor's hand. Let's form a human chain of connection. I am going to repeat something that Nadene said today that is worth hearing again. Consider living with compassion as a compass and mindfulness as an anchor. Please join me in saying the closing words. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred and one another be ours now and in all the days to come. Okay.